Hello, GenRight Nation. Welcome, everybody. It is February 22nd, 2023. I appreciate everybody tuning in to what I think is going to be a great edition of Tech Talk. First off, I'd like to wish my brother Tim a happy birthday. Today's his birthday. A lot of you know my brother Tim. So if you feel like it, you can wish him a happy birthday yourself over on Facebook. Today we're going to be talking about body armor, specifically rocker guards. I've got several other things to talk about too, if we have time for it. So as usual, I welcome your questions and comments. Just go ahead and include as much information as you can. And I've got Jennings here to read those to me, so be happy to do that. We are broadcasting live on both Facebook and YouTube, and this is something that we do every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific time. So thanks again for joining us. All right, I do want to remind everybody that Tech Talk is brought to you by Mickey Thompson, Warren Winches, R1 Brakes, VisionX Lights, and Eaton Lockers. All right. One of the first things I wanted to talk about was not this coming weekend, just a few days away, but the next one, which would be March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, is Tierra del Sol, or TDS, held just a little bit southeast of Palm Springs here in California. So if you're in California, I'm going. We're going to be doing a lot of wheeling. We're leading runs every day at 9 a.m. And we'll probably do an afternoon or evening run as well. I'll be barbecuing hot dogs and burgers back at the RV. You guys are welcome to camp with us, come hang out, whatever. It's a super fun event. It kind of reminds me like King of the Hammers, but everybody and their second cousin gets to drive. So there's a lot of wheeling to be done. And if you've never been down in the Truck Haven area, it's a ton of fun. So please feel free to join us for that. This event is over on our events page under company on our website. So you can always find out about our events there. And if you're on Facebook, we've got a separate event for that. All right, so we're going to start off by talking about rocker guards. Rocker guards are one of the, in my opinion, one of the first upgrades that you should do on your Jeep. If you never protect them and you go off-roading and you damage them, it will be a real bear to repair it afterward, okay? So you're gonna end up spending a ton of money at the body shop, and you would have easily paid for a set of rocker guards. So let's see what we got here. Oh, here's an example of some rockers that have been damaged. You know, on the red Jeep there, you can see it actually split the tub right at the seam. And then up here is like on a 4-door JK, where with the longer wheelbase, you end up getting into the rocker and even part of the door. So you definitely want to install rocker guards prior to doing damage like this. You would have to go to the body shop and have this fixed before you could even put on rocker guards. So you definitely want to get it done before this happens to you. All right. So when it comes to rocker guards, we offer several different types. And this particular type is the type with a step built in. And those holes all have a dimple die on them for extra traction. And these are made of very thick wall. In fact, it's a 1/4 inch wall thick tubing. And this particular, we say JL here, but we offered this style for JL and JT. So this is a great rocker guard if you want a step, okay? So we also offer this same thing without the step on it turned up, which is my next slide. Oh no, actually here it is, mounted on a Jeep. This particular customer rhino lined them instead of powder coating them or painting them. So there's a good example. It gives you a nice 4.5 inch, 5 inch step, plenty to step on to get in and out. And you know, like I said, with the dimple die holes, that really gives you some extra traction. Here's the other style that tilts up And again, 250 wall, so super thick, 1/4 inch wall. These can be both, that other style and this style can be bolted to the frame or welded to the frame. So, yep, you got some questions?
Steel or aluminum?
Well, we're going to get to that question in a second. So, in this case, these are all steel. These are very heavy-duty frame-mounted rockers that you can pound on, okay? Just to give you an idea, your frame that you're mounting these to is a little less than 1/8 inch thick. These are 250 wall, okay? So they're more than twice as thick, and you can absolutely beat the daylights out of these, okay? These will be stronger than anything else on your Jeep. In fact, if you rolled your Jeep off the Grand Canyon, this is the only thing that would be left. Yep, another question?
Clint McFarland just said, I installed your rockers on my JKU a year ago. I even put red, black, and blue stickers behind the CNC GenRight cutout. It made it twice as strong.
Nice, nice. So we're gonna get to those in just a second.
And Summer Ann said, I have the non-stip and I beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, this style. Yeah, she has this style. So, yeah, if you're gonna go out and you're really wheeling and you're using these things as sliders and to pivot your Jeep, this is the style you want, okay?
Ari too, he said he can attest to beating the daylight out of them.
So here you can see them mounted. You know, they mount right to the frame. They angle up and they protect, you know, that angle on the bottom right there. And that's a really nice style to go with if that's the kind of wheeling you're doing, okay? If you're not doing that kind of wheeling, the body mounted aluminum ones are the way to go because they're so lightweight. Now, Shane has got these on the Wolverine, and with the additional rash guards that we sell, like we're in that first picture, in fact, I'll go back.
Ricky Turner asked, is there a similar style to the angled up ones to match the TJ to LJ conversion?
So we're gonna get there. But the answer is simply no, but I do have a mini boat side that does work for that. Another question?
And Jeremy asked, when is the carbon fiber version coming out?
He's just stirring up trouble.
And Jason asked, are those available for a JT?
Which ones? The body mounted ones? Okay, so these are the body mounted ones. This is what I ran on Terremoto when I raced King of the Hammers, this aluminum version, just like this. This is what Shane runs. This is where the guy was just talking about that he put the graphics behind there to make it pop.
That's what I run.
This is what you run on both your Jeeps.
Both.
This rocker does a whole bunch of, there's a whole bunch of benefits to this, okay? And this one has the rash guard, which you just got. So what it does is this is a 3/16 steel rash guard that goes right on the most vulnerable and most used edge, okay? That beefs up the overall strength of the product, but you've only added 6 pounds to the rocker. If you get these, if these were the same thing in steel, it would be 60 pounds per side. Instead, this rocker is maybe 10 pounds. It's very, very light. And I'm going to talk about it in a second. I'm going to show you the inner structure and some other things that this was a heavily CAD designed product. So there's a lot of engineering that went into this. Yeah.
Robert asked, I have a 2005 LJ on a 3/4 link rock crawler coilover kit with Kings. I don't have a flat belly kit and no intention. I currently have rock hard 4x4 sliders. I want to know which would be better, boat side or non-boat side.
So, and that was on what year?
2005 LJ.
LJ, okay. So what we call our mini boat side is better for sure. And I'll go into the benefits of that in just a second, okay? So a lot of people call this a boat side too. By the way, this is the same width as the flares. So what it does is if you're scraping along something, it helps to go from the obstacle onto the tire and keep things from wiping out your rear flare or your door or whatever. And it provides a step to be able to get in and out. This is our original design when the JK came out, which we carried over into the JL. This is a really effective rocker. But if you're gonna drive by Braille and be out there bashing your way through the trail, then you want the other one. You want one of the, either this one or the angled one, this one, in the heavy wall steel that are frame mounted.
Kelly Sims said real men use mini boat side rockers.
Right. So we're getting there. Okay, I'll move on.
Jason clarified, are the ones that slant up that bolt to the frame available for a JT?
Okay, so we've been kind of looking for feedback on that. We can easily make them. We just haven't had anybody call in and order them. So same price. You just got to tell the salesman that's what you want, and we can definitely do those. Okay, so here we show there's the outside part that you see, but Jeff, can I show everybody these right here? Okay, so these come in 3 pieces. So this is what's called the kick plate, okay? And the kick plate is only so that the toe of your shoe, when you're getting in the Jeep, doesn't scratch the paint. This is the magic right here. So this inner structure is very similar to like the structure of an airplane. What this does is these ribs all reinforce this outer skin. So this slides up underneath here and reinforces this whole thing. This is a very, very important aspect of what makes this rocker work. And the reason I'm making a big deal out of this right now is because every time you see one of these rockers, you can't see this inner structure. So it's a very important aspect. And then these you can see move all the way back and tie into the body mounts. Very important, so that the load they see is pushing that into the body mounts. And then of course you have the kick plate, and this mounts up underneath here, and that gives you the nice looking rocker that everybody's used to. So, okay. And then while we're looking at the rockers, let's look at this one. Again, this is 2-inch, 250 wall. This is big. It's also frame mounted. All the tubes in this are 250 wall. This is super heavy duty. This is a 3/16 mounting plate that wraps underneath the frame. And like I said, this can be bolted on or welded on. And I recommend welding. That's the best way. It won't rattle loose and fall off. But you combine the 3/16 with the thickness of the frame, and you've actually got, a really nice mounting. These come to you this way. You have to powder coat or paint these, but I'm telling you, this is beefy. And this is what I'm running on my Aftershock JL. So very, very strong, and I've already used the heck out of them. So, okay.
Question.
Yep. What else you got?
Steve asked, when bending seams for mini boat sides, do you bend or cut the seam at the front fender where it meets the side? Is it beefy there?
I'm going to get into that in just a second, but you always bend it. You do not cut that, okay?
Another
More?
question,
Yeah.
Summer. Can you talk about adding this with certain long arm kits? I know some modifications are needed.
So what they're talking about is this one. So sometimes on the rearmost body mount, which is actually going to be this one here, some of the long arm kits mount right here. So if you have to, you can modify, cut off part of it and still weld on, this part. Or if you have to, like whatever kit you have is really in the way, you could cut this off and move it forward or back and just get it around what your long arm kit has. Okay. So that's a great question, and thanks for asking that. Yeah, because I have had that come up a couple of times. But this by far is the strongest one. So, okay. And you can see our rockers here on the screen. All of them come with all the mounting hardware you need. Almost always, I do the most I can in stainless steel so that you don't have any rusting going on. Yeah.
Chris Moore asked if mini boat sides on LJ and front fenders. Do you cut fenders to fit the sliders, or do you cut the sliders to fit the fenders?
You cut the fender. Yeah, the slider, remember, this is the part on the bottom. So you want it to be the strongest. And when you fall off something, you want the rocker to take it, not the fender. That fender won't take much. Okay. All right, so let's get over to the part that everybody's talking about. There's that inner structure again. Oh, I was going to mention, we offer several different styles, right? We under standard, then we offer a stretch, then we offer, just different with the mini boat side and everything. So you can see all of this over on our website. And I would encourage you to go over there if you're shopping for rockers. And by the way, in case you haven't noticed, not all products are created equal. So when you're looking at other manufacturers, they're not giving you stainless steel hardware. They're not countersunk. They're they don't have all of this engineering and extra beefiness. There's a lot of rockers out there like this one that are half or less thickness than this. Like a Smittybilt is only 80 thousandths wall. They just cave in the moment you touch something. They're literally for looks. Yep.
Sorry, can you read? They say it's hard to see the white screen. Can
Yeah.
you read it if you're talking about it?
Well, this is we're transitioning now from the JL, JK, JT rockers over to CJ, YJ, TJ, LJ style.
Chris
Okay.
Moore said he left the fenders and trimmed the sliders.
Yeah, no, that was the wrong way to do it. So hopefully he kept that piece that he cut off and could weld it back on. Okay. So here's the difference, right? And we've got the rockers right here to show you as well. But a standard rocker gar is bent at a 90-degree angle. These are both made out of 3/16 cold roll steel. And then we've got the mini boat side. And what it is that we've eliminated this corner. And that corner gives you another 1.5 inches of clearance. So 1.5 inches, by the way, unless you've seen this and seen it work out on the trail, 1.5 inches is a mile. So most of the time, if you just had a 1/4 inch, it would make all the difference. But this is a ton of room. And that's why we came up with these.
Jeff, can you zoom in on the screen? They're having a hard time seeing what
On
the
this.
wider pictures, the light pictures.
Oh, well, we can talk about it on the actual product too. Are you able to get in pretty tight
Yeah.
right now?
That like even more in if you can. It's hard to see. It is hard to see. I'm looking at it.
It is now, I think you're.
Oh, yeah.
Look better? Okay, so just in case people missed it, it's this corner, right? On that one, this corner is gone, and that 1.5 inches is what that equals, is 1.5 inches of clearance.
That's
and,
perfect, Jeff.
And that's a ton of extra clearance. Both made out of the same material, both a full 6 inches tall. The one just looks a little taller than the other because of the angle we've taken this photo at. But we've got them both sitting here side by side, so you'll be able to see that. But the mini boat side is by far the best. So what the questions people were asking about is the body sits down inside here. So in order to make the mini boat side clear, you have to bend the pinch seam on the body back. And the first time you do it, it's a little bit painful, but it's where several layers are spot welded together. And you don't want to cut that. You just want to bend it. Number one, you don't want all the layers to separate. Number two, you don't want to start a rust situation. So you just want to be able to bend that back just enough to clear and get the rocker on. And the instructions tell you how to do it. And I'm sure there's YouTube videos on this as well. More questions?
Mark asked, yes, on an LJ boat side kit, the plastic pucks are for the folks that do not bend the pinch seam?
No, the plastic pucks, so what happens is when we sell a mini boat side rocker or even the standard rocker, we don't know what kind of a Jeep it's going on. Because remember, those are made for CJ, YJ, TJ, and LJ. So in that case, the pucks take up the difference. So when you mount these, let me see if I have a picture mounted. There's a standard rocker, but let me get to the picture. Okay, so when you mount these, you push it all the way up to where there's just a small bit of space, or if you've got our corner guards and stuff, you actually, if you get corner guards, you always want to mount those first and then push the rockers all the way up to them. But then when this is at the right reveal right here, then the spacers take up the difference in the bottom that go to the floor. So you're going to bolt through the side and through the floor, And that's what those spacers are there for. Because otherwise, you know, if you bolted to it and you started tightening the bolt, the floor would just pull. These are way, way thicker than the floor. It'll just pull the floor right down. So you don't want to do that. You want to support the floor with those spacers. Hopefully that makes sense. Yep.
Jim Smith asks, can I use the kick plate with adhesive with the aluminum slider on my 2021 JLU?
You can. So what he's talking about is this same product, but without the mounting holes. So we sell this, and it uses 3M double stick tape, and you can just stick it on there. And that way, like I talked about, when you step onto the Jeep with muddy shoes, it's not scratching the paint with the tips of your shoes. So kick plates are a super nice thing to add. And if you leave them raw aluminum, you can just hit them with some Scotch-Brite and make them look like brand new. Yeah.
Cole Tomodakas asks, can I buy your mini boat side without the tube?
No. So the tube, by the way, is a critical part of creating a truss. So this tube adds additional strength to it, just like you would if you added a truss to an axle. And then, of course, we've got the dimple die step on there. So that adds additional traction. Now, believe it or not, I know a lot of people say, well, I don't want that extra width. Trust me, when you're on the trail and you're leaning up against something, that extra width is the only thing keeping the top of the windshield frame or the roof, depending on if you run a roof or not, off of the tree or the rock you're leaning on. So we live, eat, and breathe this. You have to trust that the way we're offering this is the best possible way. Okay, more questions?
No, I just thought it was interesting. VB Tom said he also left the fenders and trimmed the sliders, and it looks great.
Yes, people do that, but my preference is just like this. Actually, let's go further.
So can you do it either way?
You can, but it's not what I recommend. You want to trim this. Be that way, you know, I think the next picture.
Why one over the other?
So here, we've trimmed the fender. So the idea is, because if you fall off something, you're going to land right here, okay? And what you'd be landing on is an aluminum fender, not a 3/16 steel rocker, which, by the way, has the entire side of the Jeep and the bottom of the Jeep to help reinforce it and leverage, right? So that's a super important aspect.
Beautiful Jeep.
What's that?
That's a beautiful Jeep.
That is a beautiful Jeep. That is now
Emperor.
tuxedo. Yeah, it's funny, that shot makes it look really short, but it's not. So, more questions?
Nope.
Doing okay? Okay. So actually, let's look at the two rockers we have here now. So, like I said, both of these are constructed of 3/16 inch cold roll steel. This is the best possible high strength steel you can get. Both, whether it's a standard rocker or the mini boat side, come with an 1 3/4 DOM tube on here. DOM tubing is the strongest, short of chromoly, but chromoly is ridiculous in price. It's like 4 times the price. So this is the strongest tube we can put on here. These are 188 wall or also 3/16 thick, the wall and the tubing, to make sure it's strong enough that it'll last over the time that you're using it. The dimple die steps, same on both of them, except if you buy the stretch one, you're gonna get a longer dimple die step. This step also reinforces the tube so that if you smash up against something here, it's also supporting that. You can see there's little gussets built in here on the sides, and that also helps to reinforce that tube. Again, we were talking about that truss. This is the truss that's created by putting the tube on here, okay?
VB Tom said he has the sliders notched to fit under the fenders.
Under the fender, great.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine. Okay, and then I didn't mention the stainless steel countersunk hardware, so it's flush, right? So none of the bolts stick out. Okay, so this is what everybody was just talking about, right? So you can see the rockers are a full 6-inch tall, that they go just down underneath the door. The right angle, this is the traditional style rocker. You don't have to do any cutting, unless you've cut the fender wells to fit bigger tires. By the way, both of these rockers come longer than you need. So if you've got a completely stock wheelbase, then they'll fit fine. If you've cut to clear bigger tires, front or rear, then you just trim to match, okay? So you've got the right angle, and then you've got the mini boat side where you can see that angle. So if the body was here, now you just have to bend it so it gets out of the way so you can move it all the way up into that position. So yeah, really, really nice. These are both great options, and trust me, you want to put these on before you damage that rocker guard on your Jeep. And you know, these are obviously the CJ, YJ, TJ style are much more affordable than say a JL, JK, or even JT. You know, there's a lot more material in those. And they're newer vehicles, right? Stuff just costs more. So what else you got over there?
Tom says, love my JK boat side rockers. In my opinion, best rocker out there. And
Nice.
Jeff said he's been running his same GenRight rockers on his Jeep since 2010. And Jamie, not your Jamie, says those new sliders are beefy, super thick wall tubing compared to the competition.
Yes.
Some love for GenRight.
Nice. And how long have you had yours on Sonic? You've had them for a while.
4 years.
And you've done the Rubicon and all
Twice.
kinds of stuff, right? So, yeah.
And before I had them on, I totally took out my passenger door. When I had Smitty built sliders, they just folded up and took out my door.
Well, like I said, they're
and
made
it
of.
was an $1,800 repair.
Oh, wow. And those rockers weren't cheap either, right?
They were like 400.
400, yeah. So
2,200. My GenRight ones were cheaper.
yes, yeah.
Should've
So
bought them
do it right the
first.
first time. Yes, for sure.
Live and learn.
Yeah, and now you got a nice step. You know, they're not going to rust, right? All the benefits of that. What else have we got? Oh, I know what else I wanted to mention was the rash guard. We talked about it earlier, but if you buy this style rocker, we make a 3/16 steel. It's just a small edge protector. Our nickname is the rash guard. And it runs this full length, and it comes zinc coated. You can paint it or powder coat it if you want to, but you don't have to. If you leave it zinc coated, it almost looks like the aluminum. And that little bit of 3/16 protection, man, it really improves the durability of this style rocker greatly. And again, that's what I raced with KOH on Terremoto. We've got a ton of time and hours and everything in these rockers. So again, if you're going to just be out there thrashing on them, then you want the frame mounted versus the body mounted.
And Brian Bush said, I run the mini boat side on my TJ and they look great. Had them since 2014 and just got them painted again.
Nice. Yeah, so okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So in the styles that come raw, right, bare metal, I always recommend just rattle canning these things because that makes it a lot easier for you to touch them up. So it just depends on the kind of wheeling you're doing, right? If you're the kind of guy that, you know, maybe once a year is going to go out, then you can powder coat them. But if you're out every weekend, man, I'd rattle can these things because you're going to be touching them up all the time.
Any chance we can see an example of the spacers used to create a clean reveal between the slider and corner armor?
Between the slider and corner armor? Oh, maybe they're talking about, we have these tabs. So there's tabs welded on behind here that allow us to bolt this longer section of the corner guard to the rocker. And it's just a small tab that we end up welding on to the inside of the rocker guard. It's also made out of 3/16. And I don't think I have any over here. We've never, for whatever reason, we've never talked about this, but that's a good question. And it does work really well.
He also asked any tips on trimming the fronts to fit around your aluminum TJ LJ fenders.
Yes. So it's what they're talking about right there is this reveal. Can you see that pretty good, Jeff? This cut right here. there's a template in the instructions. And what we do is from this hole right here, you line that up and then it shows you how far to cut over, and you can get that. Now, because we know how, you know, our fenders are made, if you're gonna run a different brand fender, then you gotta do your own thing. But yeah, you just wanna cut a nice little J right there. You don't wanna just slice this down. Don't do that. You want this nice hook to just clearance the weld all the way around. And it works great and looks great, and you get the maximum amount of protection from falling off something. Because again, if you cut it straight, then you could fall off something that would catch the flare. So you don't want to have that situation where it's gonna grab the flare.
How hard is it to install the JKU rocker?
I don't think it's hard at all. So what I can do is I can show you the steps. So the first thing you do is you bolt this on to the body. Okay, there's a seam down on the bottom that this fits right up inside. Okay, then once you've got that on there, then this piece mounts to the top of that. And I just put in a couple of bolts. Pieces are kind of hard to hang on to. What I do is I just put in a couple of bolts to hook this one to this one, and then I punch all these holes for the kick plate into the right place, okay? Then you take the kick plate off, you put in all the riv nuts, and then you put this back on. Then the last piece is you slide this over, and what we call this main shell, you just slide that whole thing over, and then you put the bottom body mount bolts in. There's a couple of spacers. We give you brand new bolts, and you just put all that in, and the rocker is installed. So this is it. I don't think it's that hard. I've done it a bunch of times. Underneath here is a bunch of clip nuts and stuff. I recommend any rocker that you put on like this, you grease every single bolt. That's super important. Because in some cases you've got a steel clip nut with a stainless steel bolt, and you want to make sure that everything's lined up as you're putting it together. And sometimes what I'll do is when I go to put these bolts in, I'll actually run a 1/4-20 tap on a drill through. You know, I'll get maybe 2 started and then I'll run the drill through there. It'll help align everything, and then man, the thing goes together super nice. So hopefully that's enough of a tip.
Heaven Guard asks, what are the reasons for the backing plate for the rocker guards?
This internal backing or this kick plate?
Backing plate.
Or are we talking about the
Backing plate for the rocker guards.
well, if you're talking about this one, it's because if you just welded this straight to the frame, you know, the frame is not as thick as even this backing plate. So it would just break the frame or punch the frame in the first time you dropped off something. So welding on these 3/16 backing plates to help distribute the load is super critical. Okay.
Jerome said, maybe can you mention the kick plate blanks that you offer for people that had different vendor items previously?
Great idea. Okay. So what he's talking about is this. So say for instance, you're switching from another brand over to GenRight. We offered this exact same plate with no holes, but still has this bend in it, so that you can take your old one and you put them back to back and you transfer all the holes so that every mounting hole will match up with your old rockers. So you don't have a bunch of new rib nut holes in your Jeep. You can actually get a GenRight one that's blank and be able to put that right on your Jeep. That's a great, I always forget about that, but yes, that we offer those kick plates in a blank, which is different. Those, by the way, those are different than the stick-on ones the guy was talking about earlier. Okay.
Terry Mode just said, mini boat side for 11 plus years on my LJ and still killing rocks.
Yep.
And Alfie said, love the pitch and distance from the body on my GenRight frame welded JLU rockers. Beefiest rockers, hands down.
Okay, so he's talking about this one. And what he's talking about is that this angle is even with the shape of the body, and that we keep about, you know, a finger's distance away from the body. So the worst thing that can happen is you drop off something and this thing just leverages over and smashes. So you get this shape in the body. So we want to keep some clearance there. And again, this is the same style I'm running on Aftershock. Alfie's got them on his Jeep. We've run them on a lot of Jeeps. But if you're gonna really be out there using them to pivot or rock slide or just drop off stuff, the frame mounted is the way to go for sure.
Heaven Guard, who asked what are the reasons for the backing plate for the Rocky Guard, she
Yeah.
said like on the TJ to LJ, and it's the ones that are optional that can be added on the website. That's what she's talking about.
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So you actually, Jeff, you can stay there because I'm going to talk about the backside. So what happens is, say for instance, you're one of those folks that didn't put the rocker guards on, like I told you in the beginning, and your body's a little bit messed up. What the backing plate does is it's formed and it picks up like 4 of these holes. You put it on the inside, and then when you tighten this down, it sandwiches the sheet metal together on the body so that right here, you don't have any gaps. So between the sheet metal on the tub and your corner guard, you can pull it all together and make it look really nice and clean. So what everybody used to do was they used giant fender washers on the inside, but you'd still end up with a little bit of a gap. So by having one long form piece on the inside, you just clamp it all together. And I'll tell you, that's the most wonderful way to do it. I've done that on every one of my Jeeps that takes this style. Oh, and by the way, we've got a, not the mini boat side, but the standard one, a nice video over on YouTube of installing this on our budget YJ. So after this show, you can go over there and check that out, a full install of what it takes to do the rockers, including the cutting and everything. What else you got?
Hey Tony, 2016 JKU with a competitor slider, poison spider, but looking to lose some overall weight on the Jeep. How easy is it to change to GenRight for the whole slider?
Yeah, so that goes back to what we were talking about. When you order, you're gonna wanna order these, what we call the kick plate, without the mounting holes, in a blank, and then you'll be able to just transfer over the exact same hole pattern that your other rockers currently have, and the thing will bolt right up. So that'll be a slick way to do it.
Leaf asked, with the boat side rockers, do I need to cut the bottom of my GenRight fenders?
You would need to cut the bottom of the generator. You're just slicing an angle off, you know, right. This has our additional body protection on the side right here, what we call our flak jacket. So you can't see the seam, but it's literally just a small sliver right there. Maybe the picture before this. Yeah, the picture before this. So it's right here. So this is the fender, and you can see that small corner that got cut off. It's not much.
There's like 4 different people said that's cool. They didn't know that about the backing plates.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know why more people don't buy that backing plate.
They didn't know
But by the
about
way, okay, now that you're paying attention about the backing plate, we offer a similar product. I was going to say the exact same thing, but it is a different part number because the hole spacing is different. But we offer the similar product for the corner guards. So if you have a CJ, YJ, TJ, LJ, you should be buying the corner guard backing plate as well. So, and that adds a lot of strength to the corner as well. Yeah.
John Irwin said steel sliders possibly for more hardcore rock crawling for a JKU?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I'll tell you, the biggest mistake somebody makes is they're out wheeling, and Sand Hollow, the trail called the Maze, is a perfect example. So from where the driver sits, you're looking at the tire, you got this nice smooth ramp that drops down, while on the passenger side, as soon as the wheel goes over the thing, it just dumps down, and you nail the rocker. So even though you think you're going slow, you needed to go half that speed to like let the vehicle creep down, and instead you move like 1 inch forward and it just goes bam. Well, if you have these, you're gonna do some damage. If you have these, the rock's gonna be damaged. So that's depending on the kind of, again, wheeling you're doing. If you're doing this for some body protection, a nice step. By the way, this rocker here, also, when the wheels spin, this shape on the bottom just deflects all the mud and rocks and everything. So you don't hit anything. And basically, because on the JK or JL, this style rocker sticks out further. Remember I told you the same width as the flare. It's anything off the front tire is just it hits this and deflects out and it's gone. So pretty cool.
Dwayne has a suggestion to make the backing plate an option when ordering in a drop-down menu.
Yeah, actually I thought it was, so sorry. We will make that change tomorrow. Yep. It should also be mentioned in the notes, that we recommend ordering the backing plates. If it's not, then I've failed you guys miserably because that's the way I work on the website, so sorry.
We're good.
We're doing good?
We have a Waldy supporter
We've got
on
about
saying,
15 minutes,
"Good
so if
job."
you guys have any other questions, chime in. And meantime, she's got more.
Any plans to bring back the steel boat side sliders in steel again?
No, because basically, if you're going to go with the body-mounted style, I want you to do aluminum. If you need to go to steel, I just want you to go straight to the frame-mounted. So, okay. You lose just a little bit of ground clearance. It's not much, but the steel ones are really so beefy. And again, we offer this style where this is rotated down into a step. So you can get the angled style like this or the step style. What's that? What are you laughing at?
I think he's just trying to get me to ask this, which is, what are we doing for dinner tonight? What are we doing for dinner
I
tonight?
have no idea. Oh man, okay. So if we're all done with rocker questions, I did want to also talk about, because the show was body armor in general, right? So I want everybody to remember, these are JL, no, these happen to be JK
Backing
corners.
plate is a drop-down option on all rockers online.
Who said that? Jeff?
Jeff.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
corner guards, don't forget, we've got for JK and JL, the brand new style that fit the Matrix Light, our new Matrix Light, so not round anymore. So corner guards, super important. Other than your rocker guards, if you damage the corner guard, these are nearly impossible to put on. So you want to add these before you need them. Again, if you're out wheeling, you need to armor up your Jeep or you're going to end up paying a fortune. More questions?
Yeah, have a 79 CJ with a fiberglass tub. Which GenRight rocker would you recommend?
Yeah, so in that one, he needs to do this rocker, the standard rocker with just the L shape, because he won't have the ability to bend the bottom of the body. I mean, he'd have to cut, and I wouldn't recommend that. Just get the L shape like this, and that'll give him all the protection he wants.
And any chance of a frame mounting for the TJ?
Okay, so in a TJ, I have had some customers, what they'll do is these are the cutouts for the body mounts right here, right? So what they do is they extend over a tab that bolts to the bottom, kind of like we do on the JK, see that tab? They build one, because it has to have a little bit of a, can you see my hand? It has to have a little bit of a bend to get there. And so people will just weld that on. But I'm telling you, this style, look at, this is Andrew's Jeep. He's already bashed it, and the rocker didn't even give. So if you're gonna hit harder than that, then I'm not sure I want you to buy GenRight products. I mean, you're driving by Braille, like, you gotta have some respect and finesse for your vehicle. So, okay. I know everybody here's laughing. They think that's funny.
Steve Bird said he needs the one you were holding, I think, when you were over there.
The corner. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He does. But he's putting in a cage, one thing at a time. I saw him working on his cage, so yep, I agree. Okay, and Steve Bird does have these aluminum fenders. So you change out the plastic if you've got a JT, JL, JK, you change out the plastic fenders for this. And then if you have a CJ, YJ, TJ, LJ, you get a whole new fender. That's what everybody was talking about, like on that Jeep there. You get a whole new fender. So these are also, when we do the aluminum fenders, this is 3/16 thick. We heavily upgrade these. And trust me, you have to take my word for it. These are stronger than what they're bolted to on the Jeep, okay? Because I have done plenty of damage on mine, and every time this is the only thing that held up. So in all cases, you got to have something, that's got to give. So these are plenty strong, even aluminum. And then don't forget about your bumpers, right? So we design a super lightweight bumper that is very high clearance. This happens to be our ultra clearance. The winch is recessed down into it. You can kind of see from the back, the winch is recessed down into it. So this is a super nice, this is my favorite one with what we call the low winch bar because it doesn't stick up too high. And this doesn't block the air from getting in your radiator.
Your customers have a question. Summer
Sure.
wants to know, what's finesse?
Finesse. So remember
Shampoo?
remember when I said you need to go slowly? Yes. Or if you can't go slow, you need to just launch it. But you better have our Elite or EXS suspension to get to the bottom. Otherwise, it's really going to hurt. But yes, you can do one or the other. If you do anything in between, it's going to hurt.
Okay,
and,
serious
And by the
question.
way, if you ever go to run some of those trails, actually, here's another tip. I'm going to give you guys a tip because this happens every time I go on a trail. If there's a line of people because you're at an obstacle, get out of your vehicle. I'm not kidding. Get out and walk up and see what's going on. You will learn so much from what the other people in front of you are doing. And by the way, they're not doing it right typically if there's a line, okay? That means they're struggling, they're thrashing something, they're breaking something. You need to learn from them and wait until you see somebody do it right, and then you need to do the exact same thing, okay? And if you don't believe me, no problem. Go do it your way. Let me know how it works out. All right, what else you got?
Do you recommend the rash guards for the bumpers as well?
I do, yeah. So a bumper like this is our ultra clearance, no rash guard. But if you have a regular clearance, that has a rash guard on it. And then in the rear, for a JL, JT, or JK, we offer a nice rash guard for the rear bumper. And it's just a small, it's not even 1 inch by 1 inch. And that really helps to protect. The other thing that I recommend, and I've said this before, but hear me really loud and clear, is I want you to run your D-rings on front and rear. So that the D-rings, I've designed the bumpers so that the D-rings hit first and then roll off. So you always want to run your D-rings. And if you're worried about them falling out, put a zip tie or a piece of tie wire or something through them and they will not fall off, I promise. What else you got?
Two-door JK stretch corners and or blanks. If
Yeah.
so, price?
Is what? If so, price? Yeah, you'd have to call in on that. We do have them. We have made them. And sometimes it's made to order. Sometimes we just make a batch of them and then we sell from that batch. I'll be honest, everybody with a two-door JL, JK, we don't get that much calls for that stuff. So if you guys are watching this show, you need to pick up the phone and let my sales guys know you are out there, exist, and you want to buy GenRight products. And then we will make them and stock them. But right now, we're not hearing enough from you guys, so speak up.
VB Tom asks, what's the purpose or function of the short bar on the bumper?
The short bar strictly protects the winch. And, Jeff, do I dare say, spin around and show the Terremoto? Yeah. Let's do it. So you can see here that with the recessed winch, how it's down below the air pocket or the vents, to let air go into the radiator, but it's just higher than the winch. So here's what happens. you're pulling up on the trail. You can't really see what's ahead. You know, you need to go up and do a 3 or 4 point or whatever. You pull up as far as you can. And then, you know, typically you go up till you hit something. Well, the last thing you want to do is hit your light bar, your winch, your fair lead, your rope. You know, you don't want to hit any of that stuff. Or even worse, this is much more typical. The guy in front of you is struggling and he just backs up and he's coming at you with some speed. Well, you want him to hit this bar. You don't want him to hit your Jeep, right? You know, if he's got a tire and stuff on there, he's going to get into the grill and your radiator. You want a bar there. And by the way, this, even though it's aluminum, all the time, we put a strap on this and we'll forklift this Jeep up so I can wash the bottom. This is strong stuff. So we've had plenty of customers send us pictures that they rear-ended somebody and the bumper was perfect. They just wiped out the car in front of them. So yeah, this is plenty strong. So
Why is there a missing D-ring on the passenger side?
oh, because it fell off. Everybody's observant. I like that.
To end, where's your tank skid?
I like that. Well, tank skid. Okay. So tank skids are important. And you know, we're out of time for today to get into gas tanks, but I'll tell you what, I'll talk about gas tanks on the next Tech Talk, okay? Because we sell a heavy duty, just like this, 3/16 cold rolled steel gas tank skid, and that we offer tanks for those, or you can do it to your stock tank. But yeah, we've got if you haven't been on our website, you're doing yourself a disservice. We've got an entire line of American-made products for your Jeep, and that's all we do is Jeep products. So what else you got?
JCS, any tips on choosing 4-inch fender versus narrow fender? Pros and cons on both?
Yeah, so the way it works, and I don't have a picture on here, but both a JK and a JL and a JT, the front really curves in. So if you run a standard fender, the standard fender, like stock, looks super wide, okay? So what we do is we do the narrow fenders so that they look like they're the same width as the rear fenders. So if you run the narrows, then of course, you know, a little bit more water or mud or whatever you're going through tends to spit back. But the look, everybody loves the narrow. We probably sell 90, maybe 95%, it might even be more, of narrow versus the standard. So the narrow is definitely the preferred. Narrow is what you'll see on Terremoto and on Aftershock. Yep.
Do you have a video for the LJ gas tank relocation?
I don't know if there's a video out. There are some pictures on our website. If you go to that product, there's a plate. We sell an adapter plate, and you can look through. Remember, actually, this might not be obvious to people. If you go to our website and you get on the product, if you click on the picture, it will open several other pictures that you can scroll through in very high definition that will give you a lot bigger image that you can go through. In those pictures, it shows you that adapter bracket, how it moves the tank back. You cut out the faux cross member, move the bolts, the carriage bolts back to the rear cross member, and then it pushes that whole tank back. Or you can go with our larger tank in the same location. So we've lots of options on that. And again, for all of you watching, if you can't find what you're looking for, pick up the phone. I got a whole team of people over there that are happy to help you out. So, yep.
Kelly asked what fuel gauge is Peter Doolin using? I hear it's different.
Yeah, he's using what's called a bubble style. So we tried them in the race cars, but the race cars, you know, you're bouncing at such a high rate that the bubble gets confused and the whole assembly falls apart. But the bubble style can be very reliable, certainly for a regular off-road vehicle. And it just floats inside a little tube, and then it sends the right amount of ohms to your fuel gauge and tells you what you have. So I always watch the mileage. That's my trick. Yeah.
Jim Smith asked, how much modification is required to use the ultra clearance bumper rather than your standard bumper for JLU non-Rubicon?
Great question. So from the factory, there's a little bar that hangs down about this far, and runs across, just below the frame. They call that the crash bar. And the crash bar is designed so that if you happen to hit a wild animal on the road, what it does is it breaks the legs of the animal so that the rest of the animal doesn't come up on your hood and onto your windshield. So there's, guys, the amount of crap Jeep has to go through to get a vehicle to pass all these safety things is unbelievably ridiculous. But everybody wants to buy a 5-star rated vehicle, so that's all the crap you get with it. So yeah, cut that off. You'll never look back. It comes off in about 30 seconds with a Sawzall, and then you can put on the good bumper that everybody wants, the ultra clearance. So I would do it. It does also mean that you either need to flip the sway bar motor or go to an anti-rock or get rid of that stupid thing altogether. But yeah, that's the answer.
Tons of comments on thanks.
Yeah.
So much info.
Cool.
Didn't know this before.
Yeah.
Great tech talk. Thank
American
you.
made. Yeah, it's what we do. We specialize in Jeeps. So hopefully this information allows you to select the rocker that's best for the vehicle that you own and are putting some rockers on. And like I said, guys, all these rockers are way different than everything else out there on the market. So make sure that you're comparing apples to apples, because I can tell you right now, you're comparing apples to oranges. These are apples, everybody else are oranges. So yeah, it's again, we feel good about what we do. We're putting the right product on the market, made the right way, made by Americans, American material, American everything. And we hope we get earn your support and your business. So, all right, if we don't have any other questions, I'm gonna wrap it up. It's 6 o'clock here. Thanks everybody for watching. And don't forget, if you live out here, join us at TDS. And next Wednesday, I'll talk about gas tanks and skid plates and all that stuff too. All right, till then, have a good week.